Smoke floated through the cracked ceiling of the ruined outpost, carried by the hot wind. Dust and ash covered everything: the ground, the walls, and even the sunlight that barely reached the surface. The war had ended weeks ago, but the planet still looked like it was burning. Tom, a human soldier in his late 20s, stepped over broken debris and silent rubble. He had chosen to stay behind while most of the troops left. He said it was to clear supplies. But in truth, Tom didn't like leaving things unfinished. He had seen too many people left behind, both human and alien. His boots crunched over him. Shattered glass as he entered what used to be a communication shelter. A soft, high-pitched sound reached his ears. He froze. It was faint, but definitely there. A baby was crying. Tom turned off his helmet light and crouched. His training told him to be careful. Not all cries meant someone needed help. Some were traps. But this one, it didn't feel like that. The sound wasn't sharp or mechanical. It was real, raw. A child in pain. He followed the sound down a collapsed hallway. The walls were cracked open, showing twisted wires and melted panels. The crying grew louder. At the end of the hallway, he found a door halfway open. He gently pushed it aside and stepped into the dark room. There, lying near a broken beam, was a blue-skinned alien woman, half-conscious and barely breathing. In her arms, wrapped in a shredded blanket, was a small baby with glowing eyes. The child cried so hard its tiny chest shook with each breath. Tom's heart clenched. The mother looked up weakly. Her eyes widened at the sight of him in uniform. She tried to move, but she was too weak. Tom took off his helmet slowly, showing his face. He held up both hands and said softly, "I'm not here to hurt you." The alien woman didn't speak. Her gaze stayed fixed on him. Her body shook slightly, whether from fear or pain, he couldn't tell. The baby cried louder. Tom knelt beside them, slowly reaching for a corner of the blanket. The woman flinched but didn't stop him. The baby's skin shimmered faintly in the light. Its tiny fingers opened and closed as it cried, clearly hungry, tired, and afraid. He looked around the room. A small storage locker in the corner had a faded medical symbol. Tom opened it and found a basic field kit, alien-made, but similar enough to use. Inside was a nutrient gel tube, probably safe for both species. He offered it to the woman. She blinked and took it with shaking hands. She fed the baby a drop, and for a moment, the crying softened, but it returned just seconds later, sharp and loud. Tom looked at her and asked gently, "What's his name?" She didn't answer. He tried again, slower. "The baby, name." The woman whispered something. Barely a sound. "Karev," Tom repeated. "Is that his name?" She gave a slow, tired nod. Tom looked at Karev. The child was sweating now, breathing unevenly. Whatever this baby had been through, it was too much for someone so small. And the mother, she wouldn't last long like this. Her leg was injured, and her skin had burn marks. If they stayed here, both would die. Tom made a decision. "I'm taking you somewhere safe," he said firmly, though he wasn't sure she understood. "I'll carry you," she tried to protest, lifting a weak arm. But Tom was already taking off his pack and laying down extra cloth. He gently moved the baby into a soft wrap, careful not to pull him from her completely. Then he picked up the woman, keeping the baby close to her chest. She winced, but didn't resist. Outside, the smoke was thicker now. Ash swirled in the air like gray snow. Tom moved quickly through the ruins, heading toward a small shelter about 2 kilometers away. It had solar panels and working water. He had checked it earlier as a fallback site. As he walked, the baby cried against his shoulder. Tom tried humming softly, hoping it would help. To his surprise, the baby paused for just a moment, listening, then cried again, louder. Tom kept going. His legs ached, and the heat made it hard to breathe, but he didn't stop. By the time they reached the shelter, the sun had dipped behind the hills. He laid the woman on a blanket inside the small room and gave her clean water. She drank slowly. The baby cried again. "I wish I knew what you needed, little guy," Tom said, rubbing his tired eyes. "Food, sleep, music. Tom opened his old compad. One song was still saved in its memory, a soft tune from Earth. It had no lyrics, just gentle notes. He played it quietly. The baby stopped crying. Tom looked at him in surprise. Karev blinked slowly, listening. His tiny eyes closed. He yawned. Within moments, he was asleep. Tom looked over at the mother. Her face had softened. Her eyes were closed now. In the silence, Tom sat back and looked up at the cracked ceiling. The stars were starting to show through the smoke. Somewhere above them, Earth still floated in space. Far away, and somewhere, people still believed the war had ended everything. But here, in a ruined shelter on a broken planet, a human soldier had calmed an alien baby with music from home. Tom smiled faintly. Not the mission I expected, he whispered. But maybe it's the one that matters. Outside, the wind howled softly. Inside, for the first time in days, everything was quiet. The next morning, Tom woke to the sound of gentle breathing. He sat up slowly, stretching his sore back. The shelter's metal walls hummed faintly from the solar power kicking in as the sun rose. The air still smelled like smoke and burnt metal, but it was better than the outside. On the far side of the room, the alien woman stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, and she looked around in confusion. Then she remembered. Her body stiffened. Her hand flew to her chest, checking for the baby. Karev was asleep, curled up in a soft cloth beside her. Tom had kept him close all night, waking each time he cried and playing the same tune again and again until the baby calmed. The mother relaxed slightly when she saw Karev unharmed. But then her eyes locked on Tom. She didn't move. Her expression was sharp with fear and suspicion. Tom raised both hands again, as he had the night before. "It's all right," he said gently. "You're safe here." She didn't reply. Her gaze stayed cold. Tom sat down near the wall, giving her space. He didn't try to approach. He knew that look. He'd seen it before, even from human civilians in war zones. She didn't trust him. Maybe she never would. He looked over at Karev. The baby shifted in his sleep, a tiny hand reaching out. The alien mother noticed it too, and gently pulled him into her arms. Her movements were protective, careful. She wrapped part of her shawl around him and stared at Tom again. "You're his mother," Tom said softly. "I understand." Still, she said nothing. Tom tapped the compad and opened a simple translation tool. He typed in a few words. "Do you need food?" He turned the screen so she could see it. She blinked. Her lips pressed together. Then she gave a slow nod. Tom reached into his pack and pulled out a small container of rations, half human supplies, half things he had salvaged from alien storage units weeks ago. He placed them between them, then backed away. She picked up one of the small packets and sniffed it cautiously. After a moment, she tasted it. It wasn't much, but it was enough for now. Tom watched as she carefully fed a few drops of juice to the baby. Her hand shook slightly. "You need rest too," Tom said. "I can help." She looked up sharply. "I won't touch him," Tom added quickly. "Just help. That's all." After a long silence, she finally spoke. Her voice was quiet. "Rough, no. Take baby." Her accent was thick, and the words came slowly. But Tom understood. "I won't," he promised. The woman held the baby closer. Then, almost like a whisper, she said one more word. "Karev." Tom gave a soft smile. "Karev. That's his name, right?" She nodded. Tom pointed to himself. "Tom." There was a pause. "Tom," she repeated carefully. Then she looked down at her baby and murmured something in her own language. Tom didn't know the words, but the tone felt like comfort, like a mother soothing her child. The hours passed slowly. Tom cleaned the shelter quietly. He checked the solar panel on the roof, reset the water collector, and double-checked the emergency radio. Not that it was working anymore. The command had already pulled out of this region. No one was coming. Inside, the woman tried to feed Karev again, but the baby fussed and cried. He turned his head, refused the food, and began to wail. Tom turned quickly. The sound echoed in the small shelter. Karev's cries were sharp and panicked. The mother tried to hush him, bouncing him gently, but nothing worked. Tom looked at the compad, switched on the music file again, and let the soft notes drift through the air. Karev's cries slowed. The alien mother stared at the pad. Her eyes widened slightly. She touched the edge of it, almost like it was something holy. Tom watched. Her face changed, not with fear, but with something softer. Sadness, maybe, or memory. "This is song," she whispered. She touched her heart with one hand. "My mate." Tom leaned forward, interested. "He used to sing this." She nodded. Her voice cracked. "Before war. Before gone." Tom's chest tightened. The baby cooed softly now, slowly drifting to sleep again. The mother looked up at Tom. "Why, you help?" He didn't know how to answer right away. He shrugged and said, "Because I saw someone who needed help." She tilted her head. "Because you're a mother," Tom added, "and he's just a baby." That's all I needed to know. The alien woman looked down at Karev again, gently rubbing his back. "My people say humans cold, cruel." Tom gave a sad smile. "Some of us are. Some of your people are too. But not everyone." There was a long silence. Then, slowly, she said, "I name Vera." Tom nodded. "Vera. That's a good name." For the first time, Vera gave a small, tired smile. That night, Karev cried again, but only once, when Tom hummed the familiar tune. The baby calmed quickly. Vera watched with quiet amazement. "You sing like him?" Tom chuckled. "I don't even know how I'm doing it. Must be luck." She shook her head slowly. "No, it's hard." Tom sat back and looked at the stars again through the narrow skylight. The air had cleared a little. The sky was more visible now, revealing a line of stars across the horizon. In that moment, the three of them, one human, one alien mother, and her half-asleep child, shared a kind of peace neither side had seen in a long time. The war had taken too much, but here, in this small shelter, something new was growing. Trust. The morning sun cast a pale glow through the cracks in the shelter's roof. A light wind stirred the dust outside, but inside the walls, it was quiet, almost peaceful. Tom sat near the back wall, working with a broken comm device spread across his lap. He wasn't a trained engineer, but over the last few weeks, he had learned to fix what he could. With communication gone, surviving meant being useful in every way possible. Across the room, Vera held Karev in her arms. The baby blinked up at the ceiling, calm for the moment. He had slept most of the night, waking only once. The familiar tune Tom hummed had soothed him almost immediately. Vera had watched in quiet surprise, as if she still couldn't understand how this human soldier had become the only one who could calm her child. Tom looked up now and again, checking on them both. He didn't say much. He had learned that silence made Vera feel safer. But today, something hung in the air, something unspoken. Karev shifted and started to fuss. Vera rocked him gently, but his little voice rose again in a tired cry. She tried feeding him, checked the wrap for warmth, but nothing helped. The baby was healthy. Tom had done a basic scan the night before, yet something continued to disturb him. Tom set the comm device aside and walked over slowly. "May I?" he asked, holding up his hands. Vera looked uncertain. She hesitated for a long moment, but then gave a small nod and carefully handed the baby over. Tom cradled Karev with surprising ease. "It's all right, little guy," he whispered. "You just missed something, don't you?" He sat down with Karev in his arms and did the only thing that had worked so far. He began to hum. A soft, low melody, gentle and slow. At once, the baby quieted. Vera watched, her eyes wide. Her lips parted as if to say something, but she stayed silent. Tom kept humming, adjusting the pitch as he went. It wasn't a song from his world, not really. It had just come to him while fixing a panel one day. Simple notes, rising and falling like waves. And now Karev was calm, not just quiet, but comforted. His breathing slowed. His little hands relaxed. After a few minutes, the baby was asleep. Tom looked up. "I don't know what it is," he said. "It just comes out when I hold him." Vera stepped closer. "The sound is almost the same." Tom tilted his head. "Same as what?" "My mate," she whispered. "He used to sing something like this to Karev before the war." Tom looked down at the baby in his arms. You think I matched the tune? Yes, Vera sat beside him, watching her son closely. Not exact, but close. You sing with your heart, like he did. Tom nodded slowly. I didn't mean to copy anything. I guess it just felt right. Vera glanced at his face. Maybe Karev remembers. Tom thought about that. It didn't seem likely, not for a child so young. But then again, there were things science still didn't understand, like why baby could respond to sound in ways deeper than words. Do your people sing a lot? Tom asked. Not in wartime, she said quietly. But before, yes, songs were for families, for hope. Tom smiled. Humans too. Music is sometimes the only thing that stays with us. There was a long silence between them. Finally, Vera asked something she hadn't dared before. You have a family? Tom looked down. His voice grew quieter. Used to. I had a little brother. He died in the early stages of the war. Then my parents just gave up. I'm sorry. Tom gave a small shrug. It's all right. That's why I stayed behind. I didn't want to leave anyone behind like they left him. Vera looked down at her child. You didn't leave us. No, Tom said. And I won't. Later that day, Tom worked on fixing the outer scanner. If they were going to stay a few more days, he needed to make sure nothing was coming. Vera helped where she could, handing him tools, holding wires, and slowly becoming more open around him. While working, Tom noticed something strange. Every time he hummed quietly under his breath while tightening screws or aligning panels, Karev responded. Even if the baby was across the room, he would turn his head toward Tom's voice. Look at that, Tom said, tapping the panel. He hears me even when I don't know I'm singing. Vera was quiet. Then she asked, do humans have a spirit connection? Tom blinked. Spirit connection? She nodded. In my culture, when someone sings from the soul, it reaches the young. It stays inside them, even when they forget the voice. Sometimes another person sings with the same soul, and the child knows. Tom smiled gently. I don't know if we believe in that, but maybe we should. Vera didn't laugh, but her eyes softened. That night, the three of them sat near the small heater. Tom boiled water for rations, while Vera gently rocked Karev to sleep. The baby fussed once more, and Vera looked over at Tom with a strange, quiet look. He didn't need her to ask. He began humming again, soft and steady. Karev's eyes closed. Vera listened too. This time, she didn't just watch. She hummed with him. The two voices were different, one human and one alien, but the harmony felt natural, simple, right. And in that moment, Tom realized something. This wasn't just about a crying baby anymore. It was about something deeper. Connection to worlds torn by war. A mother trying to survive. A baby holding onto a memory. And a human soldier singing a tune he never learned but somehow always knew. The small shelter was quiet again, except for the faint hum of the solar panels outside and the soft breathing of Karev asleep in Vera's arms. Tom sat near the doorway, watching the sky darken as the twin suns set beyond the rocky horizon. The war had ended, but the planet was not yet safe. Tom's eyes scanned the broken landscape. In the distance, he spotted flickers of light moving across the ruined small mechanical shapes darting in and out of the shadows. Scavenger drones. The old war machines hadn't all shut down. Some of the smaller, automated drones still patrolled, scanning for anything alive to collect. For metal, for parts, or for reasons Tom didn't fully understand. He felt a chill even in the warm air. These machines didn't care about ceasefires or peace. They only knew one thing: find and gather. He stood and moved quietly to the window. Vera noticed. What do you see? She asked softly. Drones, Tom said. Scavengers. They don't care who's left here. They take anything they find. Vera's face grew pale. She tightened her grip on Karev. Can they hurt us? Tom shook his head. Not if we stay hidden. But if they find us, we need to move. Vera looked down at her baby. Karev's eyes fluttered open briefly, then closed again. We must leave, she whispered. Tom nodded. He knew she was right. They had no choice but to find a safer place somewhere beyond the drone's patrol routes. Tom packed what little they had. A few rations, water, the small medical kit, and the old blanket wrapped around Karev. He checked his rifle. It was empty. The war had taken everything from him, but he still carried it out of habit, a reminder of what had happened. Vera packed what she could. Her movements were slow, but determined. She looked stronger today, the fear in her eyes less sharp. Tom took a deep breath. We'll move at night. The drones are less active then. Vera nodded. As night fell, the three of them slipped out of the shelter. Tom carried Karev carefully in the soft wrap, while Vera leaned on his shoulder for support. The stars were bright above them. The air was cooler and clearer than before. Tom led the way, stepping lightly over broken stones and fallen beams. He kept his eyes sharp, scanning for any sign of the drones. After an hour, they reached the edge of a small valley surrounded by rocky hills. This way, Tom whispered. There's a mountain pass on the other side. We can hide there. Vera looked at him gratefully. Safe? Tom nodded. It's better than here. They moved quickly, keeping low. The night was alive with sounds, distant metal scraping, the occasional beep of drone sensors. Tom's heart pounded, but he kept calm. Suddenly, a soft light appeared ahead, a drone scanning beam. Tom froze. Vera tensed beside him. The light passed slowly over a pile of rubble nearby, then moved on. Tom let out a quiet breath. Close, he said. They pressed forward. Karev stirred, crying softly. Vera stopped and held him close, whispering soothing words. Tom hummed the familiar tune again. The baby stopped crying. For a moment, Tom thought they were safe. But then, the sharp crack of a metal leg hitting rock echoed through the valley. The drone had noticed. Then red lights flashed. Alarms beeped. Tom grabbed Vera's arm. Run. Vera didn't hesitate. They sprinted through the valley, dodging fallen rocks and sharp edges. Tom held Karev tightly against his chest, moving as fast as his tired legs could carry him. The drone's beams swept back and forth, cutting through the darkness. Tom heard the low hum of its engines getting closer. Suddenly, Vera tripped on a loose stone. Tom caught her just before she fell. We can't stop, he said urgently. She nodded, struggling to stand. The drone was less than 50 meters away. Tom's mind raced. He remembered the old tech kit in his pack. He pulled out a small device, a damaged comlink he had repaired only partially. Help me, he whispered. Vera looked confused but nodded. Tom pressed a few buttons. The device began to emit a strange signal, a fake command code, something he had picked up from the war's data dumps. The drone paused, its sensors flickering. Tom kept sending the signal. The drone's red lights dimmed. It lowered its scanning beam. For a moment, it looked like the machine was standing down. Then, suddenly, the drone's sensors locked on again. Alarms blared. Tom cursed softly. We need another plan, he said. Vera looked at him with determination. She opened her neck pendant, a small, glowing device worn like a necklace. This, she said quietly, is my people's code. It controls machines. It can stop them. Tom stared in surprise. She pressed a button. The pendant sent a pulse into the air. The drone shuddered. Its engines slow. Then it stopped entirely. The red lights went dark. Silence returned. Tom looked at Vera with new respect. You saved us. She nodded. Together, they waited a long time before moving again. When it was safe, they climbed the rocky slope toward the mountain pass. The next morning, Tom sat with Vera and Karev near a small stream. Vera's eyes were bright. We will find peace, she said. Tom smiled. For the first time in weeks, hope felt real. The mountain pass was narrow and steep. Jagged rocks rose sharply on either side, casting long shadows in the afternoon sun. Tom led the way carefully, carrying Karev close to his chest. Vera followed, holding tightly to his arm for support. The journey had been harder than Tom expected. The air was thin, and every step required extra effort. But the promise of safety kept them moving forward. Karev was quiet for now, his little head resting against Tom's shoulder. The soft humming from Tom seemed to suit the baby even here in the rocky heights. Vera watched him closely. Your song. It saves him, she said softly. Tom smiled, but he didn't stop humming. Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the pass. Rocks trembled, and dust fell from above. Tom froze. Landslide, Vera whispered urgently. They looked up just as a wave of stones crashed down the mountainside. Tom reacted instantly. He pushed Vera aside and dropped to the ground, shielding Karev with his body. The rocks hit hard. Pain exploded in Tom's side. He grunted but stayed still. When the noise stopped, Tom slowly opened his eyes. Vera was shaken but unharmed, sitting nearby with Karev wrapped safely in her arms. Tom's breath was shallow. His ribs ached sharply. "I'm okay," he said between breaths. "Just hit." Vera crawled toward him. "Let me help." She reached into her pack and pulled out a small container of healing gel and alien medicine she carried. Carefully, she applied the cool gel to Tom's side. The pain eased slightly. Tom looked at her with gratitude. "Thank you." Vera nodded quietly. They rested a moment, then continued the climb. The mountain air was cold and thin, but the higher they went, the safer they felt. The drones from the lower valleys could not reach this far. Karev smiled faintly as Tom hummed once more. Vera reached out and touched Tom's hand. "You are kind," she said simply. Tom shrugged. "I'm just doing what anyone should do." "No," Vera replied firmly. "Not everyone would help." Tom looked at her, surprised by the honesty. She smiled faintly. "My people taught me to be careful, to protect only ourselves. But you protect others." Tom felt a warmth in his chest. After a while, they reached a small plateau, a quiet place surrounded by tall rocks and scattered trees. Tom set down his pack and looked around. "This will be good for now," he said. Vera sat with Karev on a soft patch of grass. Tom unpacked the small solar cooker and warmed some rations. As they ate, Tom watched Vera carefully. She had started to open up more. She told him bits about her home planet, the wars, and her lost family. Tom shared stories to his childhood, the brother he lost, and why he had stayed behind when the war ended. Their words built a fragile bridge between two very different worlds. That night, as the stars twinkled overhead, Karev woke and cried again. Vera rocked him gently, but nothing stopped the crying. Tom sat nearby and hummed the tune softly. The baby quieted, then smiled sleepily. Vera looked at Tom with gratitude. "You have gift," she said. Tom laughed quietly. "I just sing what feels right." Vera reached out and held his hand. "You are part of our family now," she said. Tom's eyes widened slightly. "I don't have family," he whispered. "Now you do," Vera replied. The days passed slowly. Tom helped Vera gather food, small fruits, and roots from the mountain plants. He fixed the shelter they found, making it more secure. Vera cared for Karev and taught Tom simple words in her language. They grew closer. But danger still lurked. One afternoon, while exploring a nearby ridge, Tom spotted fresh drone tracks in the dirt. "They're coming," he warned. Vera's face grew serious. "We must be ready." That evening, Tom checked their supplies. The injury from the landslide still hurt, but he ignored it. He hummed quietly to Karev, who smiled up at him. Vera watched from the shadows. "We must protect him," she said. Tom nodded. "We will." They both knew the mountain pass was no longer safe for long, but together they were stronger, and they would face whatever came next. The mountain wind had changed. It was colder now and sharper, as if warning them that time was running out. Tom stood at the edge of the rocky ledge, scanning the valley below with a small scope. The view stretched far. Gray ruins, broken towers, and scattered metal wrecks from the long war. But what caught his attention was the faint blinking of red lights near the bottom of the slope. More drones. Tom lowered the scope slowly. His face was tight with concern. "They're coming this way," he said, stepping back into the cave where Vera sat, holding Karev close to her chest. Vera looked up, her eyes serious. "How many?" "At least 5, Tom replied. "And bigger than the ones from before." "Military class?" Vera's grip on the child tightened. "We can't fight those." "No," Tom agreed. "But maybe we don't have to." He walked to his gear pack and pulled out the damaged comlink, the same one he had used to fake the command signal earlier. It was still cracked, the screen flickering, but it might still be useful. I think I can overload their sensors long enough for us to escape through the pass, he explained. Vera frowned. But we are already at the top of the mountain. There's another way, Tom said. North side. I saw it on the old maps. It's longer. But it leads to a refuge base, one that stayed neutral during the war. They help survivors. They don't care which side you're from. Vera blinked. They would take us. They'll take Karev, Tom said. And anyone protecting him. Vera stared at the fire for a long time. Then she looked down at her baby, who had fallen asleep in her arms. We go. By nightfall, the three of them were ready to move. Tom wrapped Karev in soft cloth and placed him in a sling across his chest. He had reinforced the sling with belts and padding, careful to keep the baby safe and warm. Vera took a small bag of food and the healing gel. She still walked with a slight limp, but her strength had returned. The wind picked up as they began their descent through the narrow path. It twisted between high rocks and sharp cliffs. The stars above were clear, but the dark ground below felt uncertain. Tom checked the comlink. The signal booster inside was active but unstable. I'll need to trigger it when we're near the defense zone, he said. If it works, the drones won't see us, and if it fails, Vera asked. Tom didn't answer. Hours passed. They walked carefully, watching every step. The ground was uneven, the air thin. Tom hummed softly for Karev. The baby didn't cry. His small glowing eyes stayed fixed on Tom's face. Calm and trusting. Vera noticed it too. He knows your voice, she said. Tom smiled. He saved me. You know, not the other way around. Vera gave a soft laugh. He saved us both. Suddenly, a sharp buzz echoed through the pass. Tom froze. The sound came again, closer. Vera pulled Karev tighter. They're scanning, Tom said. We have to move faster. They reached the edge of the old military border, an area still guarded by auto defense drones. Rusted towers stood crooked in the ground, but some still glowed faintly with power. Broken fences sparked with weak energy, and sensor beams flashed across open space. Tom crouched behind a low stone wall and pulled out the comlink. This is it, he said. He pressed the button. The device sparked and flickered. A high-pitched tone rang out, followed by silence. The red sensor beams paused. Tom grabbed Vera's hand. Now, move. They ran across the open area, wind roaring in their ears. The defense system blinked, confused by the signal. Then, one of the towers beeped, warning detected. The drones began to reawaken. Go, Tom shouted. Don't stop. They climbed over the final hill, sliding down loose dirt and gravel. Tom shielded Karev as he fell. Vera stumbled beside him. Behind them, the drone lights turned red. One fired a warning shot, a bright flash of light striking a rock nearby. Tom reached into his pocket and found a broken flare grenade. He pulled the pin and threw it toward the tower. The light burst in the air, bright enough to blind the sensors briefly. They kept running. At the bottom of the slope, the land opened into a small green valley. A neutral outpost stood in the distance, clean, quiet, and powered by bright blue solar panels. It was built into the rock wall, hidden behind trees and shielded by natural cliffs. Tom collapsed near the entrance, breathing hard. Vera dropped beside him. Karev giggled softly. The doors of the outpost opened, and two figures stepped out. One was human. The other was alien like Vera, but older. They looked at Tom, then Vera, then Karev. The older alien stepped forward. You are safe now. Tom gave a weak smile. We made it. Inside the base, clean water ran through the walls. Warm lights filled the hall. It was the first truly safe place they had seen in days. Vera sat on a cushion, feeding Karev. Tom leaned against the wall, holding a warm drink. You risked everything, Vera said quietly. Tom looked at her. I had to. No, she replied. You chose to. He didn't argue. She looked down at her child. He will grow up in peace. Tom nodded. That's all I wanted. Vera looked at him with deep eyes. You are more than a soldier now. He smiled. Maybe I'm just a friend. She touched his hand gently. Family. That night, as Karev slept peacefully, Tom stepped outside the base. The stars were above him again, brighter than ever. He closed his eyes and hummed the soft melody one more time, somewhere in the quiet valley. The sound carried through the wind. This time, it wasn't just for the baby. It was for the journey, for survival. And for something stronger than war hope. Weeks passed since they arrived at the neutral outpost. Tom had never seen peace like this before. No sirens, no gunfire, no commands shouted across cold radios, only quiet days and warm evenings, the kind that felt like they might last forever. Karev had grown stronger. He smiled more now, and his soft cooing sounds filled the halls like music. He slept peacefully in a small crib near the window, where soft sunlight touched his cheeks each morning. Vera spent most of her time with him, but she was no longer only a mother. She had started helping at the outpost clinic, mixing medicines, organizing supplies, and even treating small wounds from travelers who passed through. Her limp had healed, and her eyes no longer carried the weight of constant fear. Tom, too, had found work. He helped repair the outpost's outer sensors and trained a few volunteers in basic defense. But what surprised him most was how easily he became part of this small, strange community. Human and alien lived together, not always easily, but without hate. It felt like a new kind of world, one worth protecting. One morning, Tom stood outside with a young alien boy named Paolo, helping him fly a tiny glider drone made from scraps. Like this, Tom said. Adjusting the wings, balance matters. If one side dips, it crashes. Paolo looked up with wide silver eyes. Like people? Tom smiled. Yeah, like people. The glider took off, swirling through the air. It dipped once, then leveled and soared. Paolo laughed. It works, Vera called from the doorway, holding Karev in her arms. Tom, we need you inside. He jogged over, brushing dust from his shirt. Everything okay? There's a message, she said, from your people. Inside the outpost's small command room, a dusty screen flickered with a symbol and old Earth military code. Tom narrowed his eyes. It's an open ping, he said. No threat, just tracking survivors. He pressed the speaker. A voice came through, calm, tired, but clear. This is General Mace. Unified Human Fleet. If any soldiers hear this, we are collecting survivors. New command has ended the war. All missions are closed. You are free to return. Tom froze. Vera watched him closely. You can go, she said softly. Tom didn't speak right away. His thoughts rushed. Return to Earth. To what? He had no family left. No base. No home. But the message meant something bigger. The war was truly over. No orders. He whispered, for the first time. That night, Tom sat outside the outpost, looking up at the stars. Vera joined him, wrapping a soft blanket around Karev. He's asleep, she said. He likes your voice. It calms him. Tom smiled. That's strange. Most people say I talk like gravel. Vera laughed quietly. You leave? She asked. I don't know, he replied. I have nowhere to go. But Earth, it's still my home. She looked down. And this? What we've built here. He turned toward her, slowly. It feels like home too. There was silence, a peaceful one, the kind that didn't need to be filled. A few days later, a human rescue craft landed near the valley, clean, white, marked with a blue peace crest. Two officers stepped out, checking supplies and scanning for survivors. Tom met them at the gate. We picked up your signal. One officer said, You're lucky to be alive. I had help, Tom replied. Glancing back toward the outpost, the officer nodded. We can take you to the nearest fleet. You'll be safe. They're starting resettlement, housing, jobs, everything. Tom looked past him. Can they take her? He asked, pointing to Vera, who stood a distance away with Ka or Ev. The officer hesitated. She's not human. She's more human than most I knew, Tom said firmly. The second officer checked a small tablet. Technically, this is a neutral zone. If she's registered here, she can stay. We can't force anyone to go. Tom nodded. Then I'll stay too. Both officers looked surprised. You're choosing to live here? Yes, Tom said. I've seen enough of war. Now I want to see peace. The shuttle left the next day without Tom. Vira stood beside him, holding Karev. You chose us, she whispered. Tom looked at her, his voice steady. You chose me first, back when you had no reason to trust a stranger. Vera smiled. You were kind. That's rare. Karev reached up and touched Tom's face. He smiled, gurgling softly. Vera watched them for a moment. He thinks you're his father. Tom didn't speak, but he didn't pull away either. Months passed. The valley bloomed again. Flowers, strange and bright, covered the edges of the rocky cliffs. Birds returned, some alien, some from Earth. The outpost grew busier, but it never lost its calm. Tom, Vera, and Karev built a small home not far from the main center. Simple walls, a quiet roof, and a round window that showed the stars at night. Every evening, Tom read stories to Karev, Earth tales, simple ones, about bravery and kindness. And sometimes Vera would sing soft lullabies in her language, which Karev loved even more. One night, after the baby had fallen asleep, Tom sat beside Vera under the stars. She leaned against him. Thank you, she whispered. For what? He asked. For choosing to stay, she said. For helping me when no one else did. For helping him sleep. Tom looked at her. I didn't know what I was missing until I met you both. Vera smiled. Now you do. He took her hand gently. I won't leave. Not again. In the end, it was never just about helping a baby stop crying. It was about healing. About learning to trust again. And about finding something stronger than war, reason to stay. The end.